Modi says that a generation has grown in Gujarat where they have not experienced or never heard of curfew. It is true. My youngest cousin is born in 1998 and she has always lived her life in a BJP ruled state and she has never experienced curfew.
So when I moved to Gujarat to cover elections, it was somewhere in May. So I was watching TV, I was randomly switching through Gujarati channels, and there was this news flashing all over. Three of Gujarat's, I think, incumbent Congress MLAs, they were saying that we are going to Delhi because we want Rahul Gandhi to give us an agenda on which we could contest elections. And this was the news everywhere.
Hi, this is Khalid Beg, and welcome to yet another episode of India This Week. We're joined by two fabulous panelists today. We have Nirwa Mehta, who's the OpIndia English editor. Welcome, Nirwa.
Thank you so much.
And we have Rimjhim. Rimjhim's already done some episodes with her, so you know her as the founder director of Sapiens, which is a company that basically does ground research for elections. So she's like an election machinery in herself, covering elections like every month, every day, every hour. And so welcome again, Rimjhim.
Thanks you. That's too kind of you. And I'm glad to be back, seriously.
Right. So we're going to be talking about the Gujarat elections. And yeah, Nirwa bonus, he is from Gujarat. So we're going to talk about the Gujarat elections, which are going to take place from 1st to 5th December in two phases to elect its 182 members. And then the results will be declared on 8th December. So just a little bit of a flashback. In 2017, BJP won 99 seats, Congress won 77, which was one of their highest since 1985. 1985 is when they won the last elections. It just goes to show you that none of us were born in 1985. So that's when
1995. It's 1995.
Yeah, I mean, if you would talk about just like them solo doing it, right? Taking away the whole, coup, which will come later too.
Right.
Yeah, so that way, I mean, if you don't take that route, so it's just the 85 one, which when none of us were born. So then, of course, 2012 also dominated by BJP 7, 2002, 1998, 1980, 1995, and like I said, 1985. So Nirva, as a generation growing up in the 90s of Gujarat and now, what explains the absolute dominance of BJP in the electoral politics of Gujarat from 1995, if we take that to 2022, 27 years? Where do you put that?
Majorly, I think it's the echoes of 1980s Gujarat that keeps BJP in power here. Before 2002 riots, the major riots, in fact, the bigger and worst riots Gujarat faced were in the 80s. There were 1980 riots, 1986 riots, there were communal riots. There was also riots started on the basis of reservations after the Mandal Commission, which eventually culminated into communal riots. So things were pretty bad when it came to the 80s. Madhav Singh Solanki, the Congress leader, he was the chief minister, and under his rule, Gujarat faced some of the worst riots. Also, towards the early 90s, things became quite bad in terms of law and order situation. You might have heard or rather seen the movie Rais of Shah Rukh Khan, right? So the Don Abdul Latif is the Rais is based on his life. It's glorification of a Don here. All the fiction here in the movie is the lived experience of people here. They've had the bootlegging, in fact, as the way Rais wins elections while being inside the jail. The Latif also won corporation elections from 4-5 seats while being in jail. So in 1995, when the Keshubai government was formed, it was formed on the promise of saving in Gujarat from the communal riots, rather the violence basically. And Abdul Latif was one of the major talking points And that's how they came on the promise of law and order situation, and then they never looked back.
And of course, they lionize the character of a gangster, assassin, extortionist, bootlegger.
Yeah.
How is the reception of that in Gujarat? I mean, for people who knew what Abdul Latif was all about.
So more than the glorification, I think it was a revisit to the history on how bad the situation was. So when I went to see the movie with my parents, my father was like, when there are that particular scenes, right? There's a scene where election campaign is on in the movie. He said this is exactly how they campaigned when it was the Chimanbhai Patel and Keshavbhai Patel governments. When they were campaigning for elections, this is exactly how they were happening. The petrol bombs that were being thrown. This is exactly how Old City in Ahmedabad had lived. So Rath Yatra is a very important festival that takes place in Ahmedabad as well. The temple of Lord Jagannath is in Jamalpur area in the old city, and obviously not as grand as the Puri Rath Yatra, but it's very grand as well. I remember in my childhood, Uttarayan, Rath Yatra, they would invariably end up in communal violence. Because all these festivals are in the old city where mixed population lives, and somehow something will trigger and it will be a communal violence. So which people were tired, you don't want curfews. Gujarat state, people here just want to earn their own living despite all the adversities that are faced by people. It's a very trading hub, so manufacturing and trading, so people don't want curfews and things that are always shut. So when a party is promising them that there will be a law and order situation taken care of, people do want to put their faith in it. And then the way things progressed when Modi came to power in 2002, and they saw that things can happen and that we can live without riots. So when Modi says that a generation has grown in Gujarat where they have not experienced or never heard of curfew, it is true. My youngest cousin is born in 1998 and she has always lived her life in a BJP ruled state, and she has never experienced curfew. So it's true. He's not making it up, but it is actual lived experience.
Right. So, Rimjhim, Nirwa spoke about the rise of BJP and the absolute dominance, like from 85, like 80, 90 onwards to now. Of course, taking the bit part, which will come later to where the government was toppled, which was the first resort coup, sort of. And it boils down to the fact that riots were like a major occurrence in Gujarat in the 70s and 80s. And here comes BJP and promises that it won't happen, except for the 2002. Later, there haven't been any major riots. And there has been prosperity. It's been a business hub. It has got a lot of investments. It's also one of the safest cities for women. So that has coincided with the absolute downfall of Congress. If we go back to 1985, out of 182 seats, they won 149 there. So that's like peach dominance, which even BJP does not. So with this coincidence, if you could drive us through what went wrong for Congress in these 37 years.
Okay, so the very first thing which went wrong was that as BJP was able to consolidate the entire vote bank on the basis of an ideology. Congress suffered an absolute lack of ideology. There was no ideology. And the ideology was to consolidate Kham. Kham is the Kshatriya, I could see, she just agreeing. Kshatriya, your Adivasi and your Muslim votes together. Yeah. So what happens when you try to outright consolidate vote banks? The upper caste and partidars, they started detaching themselves from Congress and they started reverse consolidating towards BJP. So that thing coincided with that. Secondly, we were just talking about Mr. Solanki. So Madhav Singh Solanki, he was a very corrupt person, but he was someone who did not let anyone else prosper under his own leadership. So when he was not present, the absolute absence of any leadership, strong leadership, further, I would say, dismantled the party. So votes getting consolidated, partidar and upper caste votes getting consolidated towards BJP coinciding with the developmental efforts, as you just talked about, along with lack of ideology and lack of strong leadership for Congress, I think this all together made a very strong case for BJP. Yes.
Nirva, coming back to your article which you wrote for OpIndia about the original resort politics, right? We saw in Maharashtra, my state, that, Eknath Shinde ji defected from his party. He went and camped with his MLAs in Assam, where, Himanta Biswa then helped them and they stayed in a resort. But you argued in your piece in OpIndia that the original resort politics happened in the mid-90s when BJP formed a coalition government, and you had Shankar Singh Waghela, who fell out with Keshubhai Patel, who was the CM then, and he was going to US, and he told him, when you come back, your party would be over. And he went and camped with, the rebel MLAs, and that time stayed in Madhya Pradesh under Digvijay Singh, and that was the. So if you could drive us through that, and you said that was the original, as the first ever hoarding of MLAs done. So the resort politics actually made his debut in Gujarat. So if you could talk about that episode.
Yeah, so we're the OG, the resort politics OG. So see, after the 1992 the Babri demolition that took place, there was a lot of communal undercurrent here in the state as well. And in 1995, for the first time ever, BJP formed the majority government in the state. Okay. They won 121 out of 182 seats. Keshubhai Patel was made the chief minister. That is when Shankar Singh Waghela, also one of the very prominent RSS, he's been with the Sangh. So one of the core leaders, he felt little, left out. And he also felt that maybe Keshubhai Patel, along with who was Narendra Modi, who was back then the general secretary of the BJP, they would keep their people in the government. So they were not very happy. And so that year in September, when Keshubhai Patel was going to the US to meet delegates of businessmen to come and invest in Gujarat, Ashok Bhatt was made the chief minister in charge. And before he left, Waghela is telling him that, I don't really have any, issues as such, but by the time you return, you may not remain the chief minister. And which is what happened. So what happened was he took 55 MLAs to one village, another village, and at one point they all went to Khajuraho. A charter flight in Khajuraho was taken. Khajuraho mein what happened was that they were it didn't have the night landing facility. So they put up fanas. That's what we have told, the folklores. Not sure how much of it is authentic because a lot of it is folklore, except especially the fanas thing. They landed on the brightness of the fanas and all. But that's how they were. Yeah, so it is hard to believe, but maybe it really happened because it didn't have night flight scheduled on the runway. So they landed, they were taken there, and then somehow unko manaya, jutaya, and he was brought back, and Suresh Mehta was made the chief minister. They didn't like it, nothing worked out. So eventually the government, they went for fresh elections. Shankar Singh Waghela broke up from BJP, started his own political party, Rashtriya Janasangh, if I'm not mistaken. Rashtriya Janata Party. Yeah, Rashtriya Janata Party was his party. He started it. In 1998, they contested elections. None of them won the majority mark. But with the help of Congress, Shankar Singh Waghela formed a government, minority government. And then again, things didn't work out in that government as well. Within few months, there was again elections. And that's when Keshubhai again came back to power. And that was the last time anyone else won elections. That was it's BJP since 1998. 115 seats Keshubhai Patel won. And since that day till now, we've only had BJP government here.
It's a very, very interesting part of history. Nirva, you mentioned about Abdul Latif, like the gangster, bootlegger, gambling underworld don, assassin, kidnapper, extortionist. Of course, SRK playing him in Race made him nothing like that. In fact, he was wooing Mahira Khan, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, kafi dildar hai. He feels bad for the poor people. Raat ko neend nahi aati." You know, how much did that affect the politics in that era? And do we still have people from the liquor mafia who now kind of work with the current dispensation, or has that been broken completely?
No, so liquor mafia doesn't really. What the government has now done is they've made certain things legal. Obviously, alcohol is not legally available, but for those who are coming from outside of Gujarat and they want to consume alcohol, they can get it legally from certain registered places like the hotels. There are certain hotels which can sell them. So couple of things, and they made the process very easy. It's all online. Some 70 rupees you get to pay the charges and you get the permit. You can get certain quantity of alcohol, and that's how things are done. The unfortunate illicit alcohol and that part is there, but it doesn't have the mafia hijacking or keeping the state hijacked, or it doesn't seem so. That they're keeping the government on a gunpoint.
Okay, so the back has been broken literally post Abdul Latif sort of.
Absolutely. Yeah. See, all these illegal, the spurious liquid and all, huge tragedies. Unfortunately, those things exist. India is a vast country that they exist everywhere, even at places where alcohol is legal. So that is something that needs to be countered, but it's not related to the alcohol prohibition, which is what I feel.
All right. Rimjhim, you cover so many elections, and AAP is a curious phenomena. It still considers itself and its voters think it's the most honest party, and yet we don't know how they get all those funds to pump in money. Where even I in Pune am seeing Arvind Kejriwal's ads, and I'm sure Nirwa is seeing them in Gujarat. Again, the ad money, the rallies, and what's AAP looking like right now in Gujarat, or is it just a flash in the pan?
So honestly, of course, there's a lot of talk about AAP, and I would have to give it to them that through social media, they have gotten people to discuss that what is AAP's position going to be. There's this very nice clique which also thinks that AAP's going to stand second. I don't know how that happens because Congress still is a very big force, even if they don't have a very strong leadership. However, this does not convert into vote. Because when it comes to vote, what makes BJP or what makes Congress? It's the organizational structure. The entire organizational, because on the last day, it's not Rahul Gandhi or Modi ji or Kejriwal who go to the booth and who are going to get the vote out of there. It's always going to be the booth worker. And BJP has a very strong, close-knit, I would say, very, very airtight structure that way. AAP lacks it completely on ground. They are social media savvy. They are doing amazing on social media, creating good controversies, but it's not getting converted into votes. Yes, there are a couple of seats, I think primarily in Surat that way, where I'm seeing that they might benefit out of it. But mostly, even if they are benefiting, they're not benefiting because they are doing something amazing. They are benefiting because there's a lot of infighting in the other two parties. So it's just that they are making the most out of what's going wrong with BJP or Congress locally. That being said, I don't see them grabbing more than a couple of seats. However, being on the safer side, let's say they'll be shrinking under 5. Yes.
Right. Nirva, being a Gujarati and from your home state, who are the people who have come in AAP? Are these disgruntled ex-BJP, ex-Congress, and what's the mood like?
Nirva, we need Italia stories, huh?
I'm sorry?
We need some Italia stories, huh?
Italia, and so Gopal Italia was one of the leaders during the Patidar agitation, and now suddenly he's Aam Aadmi Party leader. But the Aam Aadmi Party doesn't really have a strong face as such. No strong local leadership. No one who knows the language, no one who knows the people. There's Isudan Gadvi and Gopal Italia, the only two faces here, and also they are not very well accepted in the normal public. They don't appear very friendly, approachable. They seem to be always perpetually angry and agitated and whiny. to be, they're constantly complaining. There's also a lot of anti-Hindu statements by Gopal Italia which have come out, where he's making fun of Hindu gods and goddesses, and generally mocking and ridiculing certain customs. People, their old videos, they may be out of context, but then these were said by him. So and in times of social media, if Aam Aadmi Party is very good with it, so are other parties, right? So things can get viral very easily. Aam Aadmi Party may not really have a ground support as such, because people here, Gujarat still has a lot of strong emotional connect with Narendra Modi. Even when he's the prime minister, 8 years he has not been here in Gujarat, but they still will end up voting for Modi. So that's one thing that BJP needs to also understand, that you cannot, आप मोदी जी के नाम पे कितने सालों तक वोट्स लोगे ना? You will have to have a stronger local leadership here, which I hope that this is a reality check. They eventually do bring it up. They groom the newer generation of politicians here, which is needed. And it's not something that's rocket science. I'm pretty sure the top leadership as well knows it. That's which is how Congress has become extremely irrelevant here. There is no face here. They don't. I see only BJP hoardings here. Kejriwal comes on the radio sometimes, some random calls, but hoardings at major places, it is completely and completely the BJP hoardings. Congress के तो hoardings भी नहीं दिख रहे. You don't know anyone. No one is making noise only in Congress. It's like as if they've just given up. There is no fighting spirit left within them. So that is one concern. But Aam Aadmi Party may end up with. So last time in 2017, when the BJP and Congress were so neck to neck, a lot of people, there were analysis that the disgruntled BJP voters ended up voting for the Congress. So even then, the BJP won. So what could happen this time? Those disgruntled BJP who ended up voting for Congress last year and bringing the tally higher, now may end up voting for, say, Aam Aadmi Party or go back to BJP. Because Congress doesn't really seem active at all. Other thing is, we cannot ignore is the entry of Owaisi's party. Gujarat has traditionally been a two-party state. So now party and AIMIM joining in. So there is Congress's core voter base, one of them being the Muslim vote bank, may end up voting for Owaisi. But then there's also the concern, because the Surat East constituency, for example, it's a Muslim dominated area. Even then, except for 1 year, I think in 2002, every time it's the BJP who has won. So even these places, there's always people probably just want to vote for progress over communal lines. But AIMM did manage to make inroads during the local body polls in 2021 in Godhra. So we cannot completely dismiss them, but their entry may also end up making things worse for Congress than for the BJP.
Jim, there's an interesting point Nirwa said. In 2017, Congress came a little close to BJP. I mean, otherwise they would get decimated, right? BJP got 99 seats, Congress got 77. Now, when you take that to 2012, Congress was at 61 and BJP was at 115. By that logic, they should have been more pumped up now, because they have the momentum with them. But as Nirwa is saying, stationed in Gujarat, and as you cover elections for a living, why are they not excited? Because now last World Cup, sort of, if it's a World Cup, they were close, right? Now they should be more pumped up. But that's not the case. Why?
That's a very interesting question. And I'll give you a very interesting analogy, a very interesting anecdote, actually. So when I moved to Gujarat to cover elections, it was somewhere in May. So I was watching TV, I was randomly switching through Gujarati channels, and there was this news flashing all over. 3 of Gujarat's, I think, incumbent Congress MLAs, they were saying that we are going to Delhi because we want Rahul Gandhi to give us an agenda on which we could contest elections. And this was the news everywhere. Now you already have your answer in this. they do not know. They still do not have an ideology they can consolidate. They came really close to it in 2017 because of Patidar Andolan. This time, the thing is, they couldn't keep it intact. Now, Patidars are again going back to BJP. They are somewhere, I would say they're drifting to Congress. So they're confused, but they're going back to BJP in ways. But they have failed immensely to, on a state level, consolidate any specific vote bank back to them. And they're only banking on what's working for them locally. So there are, of course, going to be some traditional stronghold-based chains, and they're completely banking just on them कि ये नेता है, ये पहले से लड़ रहा है, इतने सालों से जीत रहा है, इसकी फैमिली वाले लड़ेंगे या तो इसकी जात वाले कोई लड़ेंगे. And like also the organization is strong over here. Let them contest. They do not have an agenda. They do not have any strong leadership, which is very important to consolidate a party on the basis of agenda. And they do not have partidar support even today. I think they might have thought that after creating what they created in 2017, which was remarkable, if they couldn't make it back then, that must have really demotivated them. And it could have demotivated any party coming so close, being so close to victory and still not achieving it. So yes, it's not easy to do it back. And again, most of the people like Hardik Patel and Jignesh Mewani, like these people also move their parties, right? Like Hardik Patel is in BJP right now, and so on and so forth. So that was also a big dent. So all the flag bearers and torch bearers and trailblazers who consolidated the vote also shifted the basis. So a lot of things there.
Right. Nirwa, question to both of you again, Rimjhim. I mean, both of you, of course, established figures in your own sectors, and of course, political analysts. You guys, look at elections as well. Nirwa, on one part, the argument is correct. The data backs it that there have been lesser riots since the last 3 decades compared to what Gujarat used to be. It sort of was a hub of riots, and now there's manufacturing, and Gujarat is always in the top 5 when it comes to investments and like women's safety and all. Now, if the BJP, which is such a dominant force and absolute domination, why would they feel the need to, indulge themselves in something like the remission, which was given to Bilkis Bano's, the victim of 2002 riots, which sort of does underline that, along with the many variables, that undercurrent of communal thing remains. How do you view that particular aspect? Because a lot of people, they came in for a lot of flack, rightly so, but it was them telling the Supreme Court, yeah, I mean, the killers and the rapists can kind of, for good behavior be left.
See, which is true, but on ground, people are hardly talking about it.
Okay.
On a personal level, I feel that they shouldn't have been let go because no one should be allowed to roam free the way the crimes were perpetrated. But having said that, it does not seem like a political move because on ground, nobody really seems to be interested, or it never really registered. People they're moving on with their life as if it was just a news item. The noise you see on social media, on Twitter, that hasn't really culminated into on-ground discussions regarding Bilkis Bano.
Okay.
So it doesn't seem to be the political agenda that everyone keeps talking about. It's unfortunate, but I don't think it was it seems like a political move to me.
Right. What about you, Rimjhim?
So again, the thing is that it looks like a political move to me. However, it does not look like an electoral move to me, which is there would have been some, I'm understanding there would have been some internal tussle about it. There would have been some reasons, very political reasons why it happened. But nothing of it is most likely would have been planned, keeping elections in sight. Of course,
I think that is more correct way of saying what I wanted to say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's this one group which would say that it's for consolidating the upper caste votes, but that's not how it works, because any which way, upper caste votes are not like how partidars are in a swing state right now, that you need to take such a big, massive, controversial step to consolidate them. So sure, there must have been a political reason, but does not look like electoral one. Yes.
All right, ladies, last question, and we'll play a little bit of guessing the game, because last time Rimjhim did come very close in UP, so yeah, credits to that when we asked her. So Nirwa, starting from you, 182 seats, how many are you giving to BJP, how many to Congress, and how many to AAP? A rough figure.
I
You
would
can give
a
an
rough
estimate.
figures will be 110 to 115 to the BJP. 5 to 10 to Aam Aadmi Party, maybe under 5 to OVC, remaining to the Congress. This is what it feels as of this point. Aam Aadmi Party may get little lesser, BJP may get little more, but Congress is probably getting even lesser than the 2017 ones.
We're giving it Congress a half century, 50 pe khatam basically, coming down from
50, 55 maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Rimjhim, what about you?
So for me, it looks like 115 to 120 to BJP. Aam Aadmi Party, less than 5. I personally think it's going to be 1, but since they are creating a lot of massive campaigning in Varacha Road and a couple of places, so let's just wait and watch for now.
Nirwa is more generous, basically.
Yeah. And just because swing of the disgruntled BJP voters, they may end up going to Aam Aadmi, but that's about it. But otherwise, one doesn't know. Yeah.
No, and it's like people like Sapiens Jain getting such good massage, so they might be like, inke leaders ko bhi milta hai, so these are the guys we want if we come in power. So yeah, Rimjhim, carry on 115 to 120 BJP and how much to Congress? Under 5 to half, you said.
Yeah, close to 60 to Congress.
Okay.
And one thing which I really want to emphasize on that independents would have some role to play in the elections. So I see them getting at least 1 to 3 seats over here.
All right.
I could see that happening. So yes.
All right. Okay, so that was a complete tour we had of Gujarat from like last 3 decades, and we had 2 lovely ladies share their analysis of what they feel the way the elections will go, and talked us about some anecdotes and some data and a lot of stories and how the state has basically shaped up in the last few decades. So thanks a lot, Nirwa Mehta. Thank you for joining us and debuting with us today. We hope to have you more often on other election related issues and in general a lot of current affairs that we speak about. And similarly with you, Rimjhim, the election machine that you are, so we'll definitely see
the next election. And I think this one will definitely go down in the mentions of history for being the first political discussion which is dominated by women. So
yeah, that's exactly. All right, thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.